No special introduction is needed today. My guest is over 10-year NHL veteran with over 1,200 PIMs. He won the Calder Cup with the Hershey Bears. He won the Stanley Cup with the New York Rangers. You can find him or hear him on Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet, Sportsnet Plus, YouTube, or Sportsnet The Fan 590, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Kyper, how's it going, buddy?
Good, Jeremiah. How are you? Nice
Good.
to be with a big fan and a big supporter of Real Kyper and Bourne, so always appreciated.
Well, I have to tell you, I am doing this in a lot of reasons because of what you did when you left Sportsnet the first time and created your own show. And I was like, look at this guy who was on the top of the Canadian hockey media world, and he's doing this on his own. And I know you're back with Sportsnet, and you've been back for a while now. Maybe we have to have an abridged to your book, Undrafted, which I've read cover to cover. It's a great read, and I wanted to plug it for you. I also wanted to plug one more of your projects before we get talking about hockey, and that is Little Buddha. And I know it's available in Canada. And here's a quick little plug for it here. Just give us a little quickness about Little Buddha.
Well, this is while I was in between my gigs at Sportsnet and Real Kyper and Bourne, and my wife and I decided to venture in the beverage industry, and we liked all these drinks that were out there, but we thought maybe to try to create a one that would be most suited for us. So, you know, we went down the path of mixing ingredients and things that we liked and didn't like. And lo and behold, we came up with a drink called Little Buddha, which is an organic drink, no preservatives, no sugar, low in calories, gluten-free, checked a lot of the boxes that we liked. And we were able to sell almost 25,000 cases our first year in the LCBO. So we're excited. We're still excited. We're in a bit of a flux here in Ontario when it comes to beverages and where they're sold, and now they're opening up to groceries. So we're chasing a lot of areas, including yours, in terms of where to find these drinks. But hopefully we'll be well situated in the near future once again to be involved with this wonderful beverage. So yeah, hopefully soon it reaches you, Jeremiah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying it. I'm not much of a drinker anymore, but I mean, you say keto friendly, sugar free. I like to say it's a healthy way to be an alcoholic, right? If you want to drink, and yes. That's not a great line for you. I wanted to ask you this question to kind of get into it, because I know we have you just for a limited time today. Don't forget to tune in to Kyper's show today. I wanted to message you yesterday, by the way, happy belated Canadian Thanksgiving. I wasn't aware you'd be working, but you were. You're out there hard working with my main man, Justin Bourne, and, of course, Sammy McKee, your producer. Does hockey or just watching the Leafs give you the same feeling that you had when your father, George, scrimped and saved enough to take you to Maple Leaf Gardens?
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I was fortunate enough not only to have a dream come true of playing in the National Hockey League, but also putting on a Toronto Maple Leaf uniform and representing the whole city of Toronto. So, yeah, listen, I watch from afar, and, you know, come playoff time, I can tell you that, you know, in a perfect world, being here, having my family around still, my parents are still around, it would be wonderful to see the Toronto Maple Leafs go deep in the playoffs, or win a Stanley Cup and share in that community feel. But at the same time, you have to be a professional, and that includes talking about them on a daily basis as an analyst and someone that represents Sportsnet as well. And you got to give your honest feelings, your sincere feelings. And sometimes it kind of jives well when the team's doing well, and then sometimes it goes against a lot of people that continue to cheer for them despite maybe a 2, 3, or 4 game losing streak or losing in the first round. But there's a fine balance somewhere there between broadcaster and someone that is reminded when you were 7 years old, you thought this team hung the moon. So I'm really enjoying my time here. Been in broadcasting for over 25 years. And sometimes it feels like I'm covering my first game as a broadcaster, like I did in October of 1998 when we first launched Sportsnet.
Yeah, it's so cool, and you get into that detail quite a bit in your book. So people, I know we don't have time to do a deep dive on that, but just kind of to caveat on that in line, since we're talking Leafs specifically, are the Leafs more equipped for the playoffs now? They got tougher, they got bigger, they got Craig Berube. I like, and I think I know your hockey because I've listened to you a lot now the last 5 years. You've got to like what you've seen early on this year.
Well, listen, Craig Berube's a guy that I first broke into pro hockey with. We were both at the Philadelphia Flyer training camp together. We both spent some time in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So I know what Craig Berube's all about. And the one thing that is abundantly clear is his mentality for the game hasn't changed much from player to coach, including when he won the Stanley Cup. Simplicity is a big part of his belief here. More north-south, less east-west, which is, again, I think simplified the game for a lot of players on the Toronto Maple Leafs. So to your point with Craig Berube there, added depth on the blue line, got a little bigger with certain players. There is a bit of a different feel here going into this season, but it really will come down to, once again, the core guys, Matthews, Marner, Nylander. Tavares, of course, is in the last year of his deal, but the other three that I mentioned are in their prime. Is this the year they can finally get it done together collectively? We'll have to wait and see, but there's some people that would have liked to seen one of Mitch Marner, Nylander, or Matthews gone at this point.
Sure.
It appears that all three of them will get another chance to lead starting this season.
Okay, that kind of leads me into my next question because you mentioned him. And I asked this question to Sammy. We didn't have a lot of time to dive in it because it was the end of the interview. But have you ever seen in your 25 plus years of covering the game of hockey as a member of media, and even when you played with the Rangers, everybody that you played with there, have you ever seen a more polarizing player than Mitch Marner? That one is an interesting one to me. And is that just due to the market, or I mean, I know, I don't want to put you in a difficult situation, but it just feels like he's so polarizing in the city of Toronto.
Well, I think Mitch has been unfairly treated in this market to the point where if they need a scapegoat, if they need someone to blame, he's the first guy mentioned. The narrative is that he doesn't show up in the playoffs yet. If you look at his career point totals, they exceed Matthews and Nylander, but again, it just seems like he's the first guy that they blame. Whether or not you have to go back years ago when he first demanded a contract that he thought he deserved, and apparently the Leafs did too. There's some people that never got over that they always felt like he was overpaid, but he's a special player. Just ask his peers around the league. Nate McKinnon earlier in the summer talked about being one of the best players in the league, but there's a frustration with the Leaf fans. We know that. It stems from 1967, the last time they won a championship. So, it's not uncommon for major markets, New York, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, to find someone to blame for all of it. But like I said, very unfairly on Mitch Marner. And now it'll come to a head one of three ways. Still, he resigns with the team, he gets traded before the deadline, or he walks as a UFA. But this will all come to a head in a very short period of time this season.
Well, they maybe need to take a page out of Tom Berenger's book from Major League and just win the whole bleeping thing, huh? And then the Mitch Marner thing, that would be good. Yeah, I can say this just from an outside observer, seeing watching Toronto celebrate the 2019 Raptors, I can only imagine what the Leafs would be like. Just, you see what they are pregame, having been to those games now, having gotten an opportunity to spend a little bit of time in that town.
Like Mitch, I was born and raised here, so we all fantasize about it, and we all dream of being on the roster when it happens. And as much scrutiny Mitch has been under over the years, there has to be a part of him that still says, what it would be like if he ever won a championship here. And that's the lure. That's the lure for him. That was always the lure for me and anyone in between 1967 and today, is being a part of a championship.
Well, and you did that in 1994. You were with the Rangers and you broke their long dead streak. I know you weren't the deciding factor, but you got to play and you blocked shots and you took penalties and you did what you had to do. Can just describe to the listeners what that feels like, what that moment was to you. You're there, you're in that iconic picture with the guy with the sign that says, "Now I can die in peace." You know, like just if you can, just to the casual, like, how does that feel?
Well, first of all, we just got the team together. Mark Messier had the team together last month for a little get-together reunion. 30th anniversary was back in June, and it was like we were never apart. But here I am 30 years later, Jeremiah, and I'd be lost of words to try to describe it, to be honest with you. And I don't think I could still do it justice. It's just one of those surreal moments where you don't even, you can fantasize about it, but you can't really connect to it until it happens. And then once it does happen, it's like an out-of-body experience, for a very long time. But it's so special and it's so hard. And again, every year I'm removed for it, I'm reminded of how difficult it was and how the stars have to align. And I'm not just talking about stars like Messier, Graves, Leach, and Richter. I'm talking about, the way that the whole team as a whole have to come together, and how egos have to be checked at the door, and how timing has to be impeccable, whether it's a bounce or a power play goal, the slightest of margin between winning and losing. We often talk about Lafayette hitting the goal post that could potentially have sent our Game 7 into overtime, and how easily we could have been on the other side. I can recall Trevor Linden, Murray Craven, after the game, Trevor Linden's hands were covered over his mouth. It's an iconic shot of disappointment. I remember like it was yesterday, thinking, I'm so glad that's not me right now, feeling that.
Yeah.
It's very rare. We've got thousands upon thousands of players that have played in the NHL, and yet, it only seems like a handful get their names on the Stanley Cup. So I feel very blessed, very fortunate to be one of those names.
Yeah, I have to say this too. I feel like that 94 team is very special. And I want to talk about one of your teammates that's on there. And I know you're very close with this man. He was in your wedding party. And I just want to talk about him real quick because of what he does now for a living. And that's Glenn Healy, and the Players Assistance Program that he helps run. Can you just say like it's great to have that gentleman in your life, and then what he does for former NHL players, and if there's anything the people that are listening can do to help get involved in those programs to help with the former NHL players and stuff?
Absolutely. I've had a lot of teammates over the course of my career, both, professionally or in junior, even in minor hockey. I don't think I've ever been more proud of a teammate than I am with Glenn Healy and his work with the NHL Players or NHL Alumni Association. Mark Napier, prior to that, was the president and the leader, and did a nice job in his own right. But Glenn somehow, some way, is taking the model of the NHL Players Association, maybe through Bob Goodnow, and has really formed our association into a corporation, a company, and he's done basically what Bob Goodnow did, was rally all our names and likenesses together. And when you have the likes of a Wayne Gretzky, a Mario Lemieux, a Bobby Orr, some of the greatest players in the history of the game, it's easy to go to corporations and now command money that can compete against even current players. And what he's been able to do is turn our association into something a lot bigger, but at the same time making it a #1 priority to make sure that the health of the association with its 1,800, 1,900 collective members are feeling like they're a big part of the community long past playing. And that's not necessarily an easy job, because we do know that many of our alumni do struggle in many ways, either financially or through mental wellness. Yeah. And Glenn has been there every step of the way to support them. And again, the short period of time that he's been involved, he's moved a mountain for us and continues to do so. And I urge any other ex-player out there who has not contacted Glenn Healy or the NHL alumni to do so. It's an easy reach out through the internet. It's not hard to track down a guy like Glenn Healy. Get involved, be part of our community. It's a wonderful one. And again, very, very, very proud of Glenn Healy and his team now at the alumni.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I think it's so important as a member of the military that served for 25 years and have struggled with those same things that a lot of NHL guys go through. I just love that there's a program there, and it's anchored by an amazing personality, but a guy that really, truly cares. And then just a final caveat on that, I believe anybody that ever played in the NHL can reach out, right? And it's anonymous if you need any help or anything. So we definitely encourage you guys to get out there and look. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about Glenn and that program. I didn't have anything more specific, but I did want to talk a little bit about what's going on early in the season here. You're one of 3 guys at Sportsnet that didn't pick the Oilers to win the Stanley Cup, which I give you. I know you, and I feel like I love that you stuck your neck out there, even though I know it'll mean a lot to the country of Canada. We're seeing, though, they're missing maybe a little bit of mojo that they had last year. And I know they started the year rough, but something feels different about this team. Also, Colorado, we're not seeing Detroit maybe click. Nashville added over 100 goals now. They haven't clicked yet. What are your early, musings of the Stanley Cup, the play or the season this year?
Well, first of all, just to be clear, I didn't pick Edmonton, but I'm certainly not writing them off after 3 games. I learned my lesson last year on a tough start. But saying that, I just felt like the blue line didn't improve. In fact, it may have even taken a step back. I was never a huge Cody Ceci fan, but I've learned to appreciate him a lot more.
He was great on the penalty kill
for the Edmonton Oilers and what he was able to do to help them get to a Stanley Cup final. I personally thought, Broberg was a guy that I would not have given up on. While Holloway is a forward, and I like my chances of replacing a forward a lot more than I do a blue line, especially a guy that I've invested in, over the last few years. Broberg now is on the second unit, I guess, in St. Louis, playing with Justin Falk, playing 20 minutes a night. And I just think he was finally ready to take a next step. So I did look at that blue line and wonder, is it good enough as is to get to a Stanley Cup final? And I didn't think it was. And I know it's early, but, part of the issue in Edmonton early was the fact that the forwards have not spent all that much time in the offensive zone, which puts more pressure on a depleted blue line. And, Evan Bouchard, again, wonderful talent, can put offense up like an Erik Karlsson, but he has his challenges in his own zone as well. So I don't believe for 1 second this team will look like this on the back end come March, but they're going to have to bide their time and wait for the right opportunity to improve the blue line. But those were the issues that I saw in Edmonton that lent me to believe that it'll be a tough time getting to another Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, no, and I just appreciate your honesty, and then also to have the courage to go against the grain a little bit there. I think what we see now is the more we get into this salary cap era, I think every season is very unpredictable, and you never know. I did want to ask you. I was a little bummed out that I didn't see you walk the line for the Capitals' 50th anniversary with as a member of one of their alumni. I know probably work and family commitments kept you away from that.
Yes. Yeah, very disappointed. Very disappointed I couldn't make it. Yeah, I've got some family commitments that didn't allow it, but I watched from afar, and it looked like it was a fantastic weekend. So happy for many of my ex-teammates or even the ones that came before me in the Washington organization that really had a chance to reminisce of what a fantastic growth there's been in the nation's capital when it comes to, you know, hockey in the NHL. So it was wonderful to watch and see.
Yeah, just make sure you write them and get your jacket. You need that alumni jacket. That's a sharp looking jacket, and I'd love to see you
look like a great jacket. Yeah, I saw that, and I'm like,
next time
maybe I got one waiting for me. Who knows?
Well, hey, Nick, I so much appreciate you taking the time, and thank you for staying in constant contact with me during this process. You can't do anything about Toronto traffic, but I really appreciate you taking the time to spend with me here just a few minutes. Again, check out Nick's book, Undrafted, try Little Buddha, listen to Real Kyper and Bourne. Not a lot of great things have come out of Alaska, but our friend, your co-host, Justin Bourne, went to the University of Alaska, Anchorage, so I like to be proud of that. I know you enjoy working with him, and you've got great chemistry with Sammy, and he provides that fan perspective. Keep up the great work, my friend. Thank you again. It was a very dream come true to interview you and talk to you just for a few minutes. Thank you.
Well, Jeremiah, like you said, we just recently celebrated Canadian Thanksgiving. I've got a lot to be thankful for sure. You mentioned Justin and Sammy of Real Kyper and Bourne, but I'm also thankful for hockey fans like yourself who have the passion for our game, who appreciate it, appreciate in whatever way that I or anyone else can bring you the joys of hockey. I'm now looking at your set right now, which looks fantastic. You're doing what you love to do, which again speaks volumes. And equally as proud of you for taking your bat off the shoulder, if I want to use a MLB playoff term, and going for it. You look great. You look like a pro. And I'm equally proud to be on this show with you today.
Well, thank you so much, Kip. It means a lot, man. And again, you're a big reason because of it. Big inspiration to me, my friend.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. And we'll see you again at 10 p.m. Eastern.